best. Um, I don't even know where to start with this one. Uh, Other than to say that um, we have our daughter's full permission to talk about this, but we'll still be circumspect because we always have been, and respected family privacy, and we'll continue to do that. But this bears talking about. Uh, we've known for some time that our daughter is LGBTQ. Um, yeah, she's not quite sure exactly where she falls along that, but we've been supportive of that and tried to do our best for it because, and here's one of the key parts to this is that we've been bigots. We were bigots. We were raised in the 80s, which was a very bigoted era. It was just gay rights were just only beginning to get, some support, really make some forward motion. But, for the most part, if you were just your standard white kid male, you were, it was pretty much indoctrinated into you that, to make jokes. And that does not excuse it. In fact, that just makes things worse and makes this all the more pointed and all the more urgent that this be talked about. Um, and for those of you tuning in, I'm not. I know this is a live stream, but I'm not going to be really watching. We're not going to be watching the chat, so we may go back later after we've said our piece. And we'll warn you, this is a rant. So anyway, we've known for some time that our daughter has been LGBTQ. Sorry if we stumble a little bit; it's the adrenaline. We're still going, and she's made the acquaintance of another young person who is, now forgive us if we screw this up, cisgender. That's where their original gender is female. But anyway, they identify as them, they, whatever. And we've always been respectful of that. And it's like, they're great together. They're positive. They have fun around each other, and just as a parent knows, and, it didn't have any problem with it. And she's a very nice young person, very well mannered, very well spoken. But if, they've spent the night over here with our daughter, and our daughters went over to their house to spend the night once, and everything seemed hunky dory. We trust our daughter to be discreet, which she is, and we kind of retired early on the holiday and went to bed. She was over for the night again, and which was fine with us and whatnot. And just as a parent, you kind of get a feeling maybe something's going on, but you don't really say much. And like we said, it's one of these where once you're there, because we're all there. But we're coming to the point today. Just in the middle of the day, we're in the middle of our day, and we hear a knock on the. Actually, we're just finishing dinner, I think it was, and getting ready to go walk the cats, and there's a knock on the door, and our daughter opens it, and we were in the bedroom getting our shoes on to walk the cats, and or shoe and boot, as the case may be. And there's this knock on the door, and our daughter answers it, and Lowen and our wife, gets there before we do, and which is, general purposes, a wise thing. And lo and behold, here is said other young person's parents. We want to make you, can we come in? We want to make you aware of something that happened when she was over here the other night, and da 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 da, and at first we're like, what? Did they smell something? It's like we went outside, it's legal, or, maybe they hit the bottle of rum, it's like I do keep one for every once in a while, more for, my wife after work or something, but, not for us because we don't like the booze, but, it's like, that's not our daughter to have done that either. So, and then the minute that the young person that they come through the door, we're looking at them, and they're just devastated. You can see that they have just been ripped one side and out the other, and there's an agony in someone's eyes that when you've been in a similar space, you recognize, and this poor person, our wife and our heart just bleeds right now. But and I'm trying so hard to be circumspect about this. But it quickly becomes aware or apparent that these two, despite being an interracial couple, okay, are pointing to the hickeys that are on their daughter's neck and basically outing our daughter to us as, quote unquote, as part of her punishment. We made her come over here so that she could see your faces when we told you about this, or words very similar to that effect. And we're just standing there, and it's like, and it's like, okay. And immediately and we have steadfastly not talked about politics on this channel, okay, and we still plan to maintain that, but it quickly became apparent that these were, and also based on other things that said young person had mentioned and our daughter had mentioned, that these are far right flag waving individuals who obviously have a great deal of problems with LGBTQ relationships. And that's fine. They have the right to their own opinion, whether we agree with it or not. What they don't have the right to do is come knocking on my door, our door, unexpected, without inviting, without even having a phone call, only to stand there in our living room and dress down their daughter, this young person, and our daughter, who handled herself with a great deal of aplomb, we must say, for basically just making out. There was nothing, it was consensual, there was nothing more than that. They gave each other some hickeys, oh, big deal, or so you would think. But it quickly became apparent that we were not dealing with rational people here, and survival mode kicking in. It was best to, placate, okay, yes, well, then the whole thing was, well, if this had happened under my roof, I would want to, this brought to my attention type of thing, which, as we've said, we've been in this mind space before. We know from whence they're coming from, and it's wrong, but we do understand and it's, so it was best to just kind of play along. It's like, okay, yes, well, we'll have a talk with our daughter, which of course we did, but not in the way that they thought, because, so just usher these people out as quickly as possible, and then turn to our daughter and take her into our arms and say, we are so sorry that you just got to witness bigotry and anti-LGBTQ sentiment firsthand. This stuff is all abstract. It's abstract. It's on the news. Oh, these are the things that the politicians talk about, or, this group or the right or the left talk about, and we're all arguing about it. And in the meantime, suddenly it comes knocking on your door, and it's not so impersonal anymore. The arrogance of this man to stand there uninvited in my own living room and out my daughter. They assumed that we didn't know that they were doing us some grand favor by choosing to punish their daughter, who it was obvious that they had already raked over the coals. The poor child. Just the anguish there. But the unbridled arrogance and unmitigated gall and bigotry and fear and hatred that stood in my living room, our living room, and thought that they were doing us a favor by outing our daughter, by taking that choice away from her. Our daughter, after the uncomfortable silence, says, he was like, well, if this was happening, again, they repeated the same phrase, if this was happening under my roof, I'd want to know about it. And, and it's kind of one of those heavy, and it's like our daughter says, yes, that I made out with her. And it's like, but she didn't even say it with that much acidity to it. But if you knew our daughter, you would know that was kind of like drippy, but it was just perfectly nuanced. So credit to her for that, kind of the proud daddy moment there. Sorry. But other than that, she kept her temper very well, because it was one of those situations that could have went south. It's lucky that, Bootstraps didn't answer the door, so yay for us. We actually dealt with it with aplomb and didn't end up, assaulting said person. Honestly, it wasn't until later that the reaction kicked in and the anger kicked in once we came down off of that initial fight, flight, free, the stress response cycle that we're constantly going on about, that we're just at the tail end of now because, our hands are still a little shaky. Uh, but it's just, and our daughter is an A student who works her ass off. And is an incredibly bright young lady who has an incredible will and an immense amount of potential. And I'm not getting into the politics or the biology of it or anything like that, but when you love somebody, you love who you love. Love reaches across barriers. And to attempt to try to adjudicate or control love is counterintuitive. And, some of the more conservative members of our audience, you may have already decided to tune out. And it's like, unsubscribe. Okay, go ahead. We don't talk, we don't talk about politics. We try to stay out of it because that's not our function. But this bears, because with male alters, yes, hush, I will let you out after I'm done. With alters that are both male and female, we could not dare let the girls go out to Walmart to buy groceries dressed up. Okay, this is why. This exact thing is why. So it does bear on the DID community because you get the gender dysphoria in the sense of who am I, what sex am I, So this hit home on several personal levels, and we asked our daughter for permission. She's like, "Yeah, go ahead if you want me to, call me in. Go ahead." I'm like, "No." Because that's exploitative. That's exploitation. That's a bridge too far, and we would never do that to begin with. But because this touches on so many different things with DID, both ancillary and direct, we thought, and not only that, but because, God damn it, we're an angry father right now, several of us, who are really irritated at on so many different levels, and you guys are always wanting to see the honest reactions and the stuff while we're experiencing them, and we have to do it in a tasteful manner. Well, anyway, that's one of the reasons. It's like, you want to see what it's really like to deal under duress as a system? Well, here you go, because we're probably going, been a lot of people up front. Let me tell you, not the least of which, and then of course we have to deal with this as a system and process it, because almost immediately after they were gone, the littles started going, "Yeah, strange man in the house." So, yeah, not fun. I don't care how much data I'm using. Go away. So yeah, I don't know if it just crapped out on me again or what. It does that every time we get a notification. So sorry about that, but yeah, this is some real shit. Like I said, it's all impersonal until it comes knocking at your door. And it's all abstract until it comes knocking at your door. But the fact of the matter is that this is the kind of mentality that is present in America right now. And it's not one of acceptance or working together. It's of division and strife and hate of right and wrong. And it's not that simple. And it's not what we need to be concentrating on as a species right now. These are petty differences in the long run. And it just, I'm not going to get off into that rant because we have before, but it's just immensely frustrating. And just how dare they stand in and try to take my daughter's choice, and literally try to take my daughter's choice away from her, no matter how she identifies. That is arrogance bordering on breathtaking, just words. So yeah, and then we were, of course, afterwards. It's like, we got her permission to stream about this and everything. And it's like, actually, we need to check the time because we need to check on her. Okay, we still got another half hour until we go to check on her. And it's just our heart bleeds for this poor young person because it was because you see our previous wife, she was they were a Republican conservative family in the type thing, not our wife, our first wife, but she grew up in that environment, and this is we've obliquely commented on it before, but when we say that we understand this thought process, it's because we lived in it, and to some of our shame participated in it before we got the wool pulled from off our eyes. So it's all good to be supportive. Oh yeah, honey, I support you, or what, But what do you do when your daughter is standing there after these people have left and just stripped a basic human right of privacy away from her? And I just we just the only it's the first thing that our wife, and we just grabbed her and hugged her and gave her all of the love and support and understanding, and told her that she hadn't done anything wrong, that this was natural. Just aim a little lower on the hickeys next time, But hell, don't we all do that the first time? Uh, but it just the breathtaking arrogance and insult and just aggravation and violation that we all feel, both personally and on her behalf. It's just so, even though we were sitting there trying to decide whether to do this, because we constantly second guess. It's like, God, should we even talk about this at all? This is just so hot button, and we stay away from this stuff and we don't talk about it, because we want to keep the focus of the channel. But like it or not, these are issues that do connect with DID, even in an ancillary manner. They are still there, and in a much more direct manner, as we've come to find out. So I mean, we're not sure that this has I, being Chris, mostly up front right now, even though the shirt is red. The bootstraps is like, if we start getting pissed, that's him. And again, guys, we see the chat bubbles coming up. Thank you, but we're not reading them right now, because otherwise we would focus. So we'll get to them here in a bit. But maybe we'll just, because it's like right now we're having to fight the urge to go over, because we know where they live, because we dropped their young person off and dropped our daughter off to do the overnight, so we know where they are. And it's like there's several of us that want to go knocking on his door and say, excuse me, where the do you get off? But we know that would be counterintuitive and not the wisest thing, because even though we may give every appearance of stability to y'all in our programming, we are still patients, and we are still unstable at times. Probably a lot more than you think. We just have stayed out of things like that, because we're not self-harmy in overt ways and things like that. So, but the impulse is still there. Oh yeah, the impulse is still there to go over there and sound that son of a bitch out and say, just start a confrontation and do everything that you would think would feel so right, would be ultimately futile. And that right there is part of the problem. The fact that we are in a place in America where I cannot go over there and tell this son of a bitch, how dare you do this? Why the hell didn't you call first? There are social rules of etiquette, and you followed none of them, buddy, because of your misplaced altruistic motive to out my daughter. Which I already knew about, thank you very much, but still, fuck you. Sorry. Where were we? I think I need to sip of my drink. So yeah, if you've ever wanted a direct demonstration of what we're like when we're pissed, you're watching it. This is just a little bit below the threshold where we start stuttering. Yeah, here we go, stuttering the minute that we say it, and start bashing stuff like pallets in the backyard. But we were sitting there debating whether or not to to even do this, but we decided this is important enough that we needed to speak out about it. So here it is. That's the story. That's what just happened less than 2 hours ago, right after dinner. People come barging in, and it's like, this kind of thing back when we were their age would have just been kind of handled on the sly. It's like it's like, haha, this kind of thing happens, no big deal, no harm, no foul, we'll have a little talk, that'll be it. But no, that's not what they wanted. They wanted to make a big deal of it, because they literally said, as part of her punishment, and it was obvious that she had already been emotionally punished enough. It's just, how do you even respond to that? But it's just, you can't, even when you're in the right. We're in a place where in America, where the discourse has fallen so far apart. Don't let the red shirt fool you. Well, if you want to know, we're independent. There you go. But yeah. So when bigotry and fear and hate come knocking at your door, what you gonna do? What you're going to do is you're going to just placate them with as few words as possible, and you're going to shove them out the door as rapidly as possible so that you can give a hug to your daughter, who's falling apart behind you and right now is wondering whether or not she's ever going to hear from the person that she loves again. And we had to tell her that, unfortunately, no, they're probably going to lock down her communications. They will never be allowed over here again. And, any overnights over there are out of the question now. She's worried that they might actually pull her from the school, which is a strong possibility. But would probably be very inconvenient for them to try to do that, considering that, they go back very soon, and the parents really wouldn't have enough time to switch and whatnot. So at least there's that going for them. But it's wrong. This is not what we should be focusing our energies on. Not as a people, or a nation, or a country, or a species. We have far bigger problems than this bullshit, and it makes us deeply angry that we can't just realize that fact and grow up a little bit. Anyway, like I said, we're just ranting. That's why it says rant. But that's basically about it. And we give our daughter what consolation we can, because you kind of run out of words at a certain point, and it's like, do you need us to check on you? And she's like, yeah. So we're going to check on her every hour, which is in about 20, 25 minutes. She's not the self-harming type, but yeah. There's one thing we know how to deal with, it's mental health crises. So, now that we've alienated probably half of our viewer base, frankly, don't care. Okay, that sounds harsh, but you guys know that we've tried to maintain scrupulous neutrality. Sorry, I need to stretch because we've been sitting on this, and we've got that stupid boot from our bone spurs on the other leg, and it's just a great deal of irritation. So now we're done ranting, we're going to go ahead and check and see and thank you guys for listening. We don't share things like this, so it's just, this felt important. There's a lot of stuff that we deal with behind the scenes that you guys you don't see, because it's too personal, or it's too interconnected, or it's just too exploitative to show. So we have to be careful with what we present, and we've always been very reticent and careful with that. But sometimes, like we've said on a couple of other videos, sometimes you just have to speak out when it's the right thing. Even if it's the unpopular thing to say, it's the right thing to say. So that's, yeah, if there's a moral, there it is. We'll check the chat log now because we've seen a lot of them. Top chat. No, I want live chat. So yeah, those of you who are just tuning in, you can, oh, and here comes the headache. Remember the TITHs that we just did the episode on? We got one starting right in there. Okay. Stop and breathe. I know it sounds stupid, but you'd be surprised how well it works. Okay, let's see. 5 pieces 9, so strong you're letting this out. We've become so accustomed to hold emotions in. It's scary as hell. 5, it's scary as hell. Because you're fighting against this. Oh my God, I shouldn't be sharing anything. You keep this stuff to yourself. You don't say anything. It's the dance. SC, it's getting worse too. Mind blowing. You're such an amazing dad. Glad your daughter has you. Thank you. Yes, give me a blessed minute. The outdoors is not going to go anywhere if you're not in it for a sec. Cat. Sorry, guys. And thank you for that, Emily. Preparing myself for this scenario, we've talked to our daughter and explained to her that she needs to follow the same rules if she were straight and had a boy over or at a boy's house. But I'm scared that me knowing and not telling her friends' parents means will be lambasted if something like this happens. Yeah, they didn't quite go that far, SC. Basically because we didn't give them the chance and because we know that, okay, we know exactly we know how this conversation is going to go and this is the best way to get rid of it. Oh yes, we'll have a talk after this. That was basically what we said and just kept repeating it, which was not a lie. It just was not going to be the talk that they thought. So yeah, anyway, yeah, we feel you, because we never expected it, to be honest. It's like, okay, we support our daughter, but the thought of angry parents showing up did not, and we can't fault her daughter. It's like, just like we said, aim lower, that was the only thing. And they were obviously quite passionate, which we're kind of proud of as well. But yeah, anyway, being a parent, yeah, system, you guys want to know what it's like being a system and being a parent, here it is. So yeah, it's a dance. Okay, this is the realities that we internalize and live with. That many singlets know nothing about. Yeah. Hard mood 9. She doesn't want her friends' parents knowing, and she doesn't want it to out to her friends. Well, she's already basically out to her friends, apparently, for what I know. But I'm sorry, you're talking about yourself. Yeah, sorry, our ability to follow sorry. Doesn't want her friends' parents knowing. Yeah, okay. Well, we understand. We hear you now, SC. Sorry. Our brain is still flooded with the endorphins and whatnot, so we're not catching on quite as quick as we normally would. Glad that you're speaking out, because this is because your system turns us inwards even when it belongs outwards. Thank you for speaking up. Yeah, considering the planet on fire. Yeah, it's just we need to wake up. Back in the day, people were about to talk to one another about things, sometimes with some frustration, yet not very much seeming to be the case anymore. Let's see, not to make light of the situation, but it's probably going to make her partner like her even more. There's a million songs that try to tell parents you can't come between two youngsters. Romeo and Juliet, that's a time-worn truism. And yeah, it's true. There's a reason why they're called truisms. Sometimes words are not needed. Simply being there for someone in the same room says more than words. Yeah, and we're there for her. We care. We know we've been there. Missed it. Hope you and your system are okay. It's okay, Kel. Just rewatch the thing. Sorry, girl. Hello. Of course, glad you're able to rant. Someone breathing is important per Ilian. Yeah. Glad you can help even a little. Thank you, guys. Caught up on the chat log. Yeah. So yeah, we're just here in the studio. We were going to be recording the Moon Knight review tonight, but things kind of interrupted. You might notice that sound is a little bit better in here now. That's because we had to remove all of the echoes, and our solution to do that was to take all these rather colorful blankets and attach them to the ceiling to absorb the echoes, and it did the job well enough. And we did some reading, and turns out moving blankets are great for the same thing. So rather than pay the ridiculous prices for acoustic foam, which these actually do better at absorbing. I know we're rambling and ranting, but anyway, we got those, and now we're going to put those up there in case of the colorful blankets. But in the meantime, Finding Nemo, butterfly, snowmen on the ceiling. So anyway, yeah. And here we behold how muddled you can get, and yeah, squirrel. Yeah. So, jeez. So we'll be filming tomorrow after we place the new sound barrier up there. Reminds me of the recording room from the King's Speech. Thank you. Well, we've turned it into a studio, basically, because this whole time we've been doing the entire show, everything we've done in one teeny corner of our master bedroom. Our wife is glad that we have our stuff out. All I can do is, yes, okay, we're curious to see the room whenever you're ready. Yeah, like we said, we just working on it there, don't worry. Yeah, I need to go let where we need to let the cat out, and we're starting to, and the TITH is still forming there, and we need to take our own advice and to stop and go calm down. So we're going to go do our Qigong. So thank you guys for listening and being there to listen to us rant and rave on about. Thank you. You're loved. You're strong. And you're not alone. So thanks, guys. We want you to remember to breathe. We will breathe. It's also an involuntary reaction. We can't help it. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Good night. Yes, I'm sure I want to stop streaming.